What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 press releases that every single wide receiver should know. So we're going to be talking about how you guys can be outside shade press, how you guys can be inside shade press, and then what you guys should do when you have a DB who's head up, and as soon as you come off the ball, he starts to back up, and how you guys can approach that situation. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it teaches you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want a daily training schedule with all of the on-field things wide receivers need to do to improve their route running, press releases, your hands, your explosiveness, check out that very first link in the description below for our 28-day on-field wide receiver workout plan. It's a 4-week daily schedule with all of the wide receiver drills you need to do mapped out with sets, reps, and a video example of each specific drill. So I hope you guys could check that out. Very first link in the description below. Let's get started with this video. So now, first thing we're going to be talking about here is a wide step release on an inside breaking route versus outside shade press. So how do we know that a DB is lined up outside shade? How do we know that a DB has outside leverage? So this receiver is going to be running this like 12-yard dig route, maybe a post route. It could be anything like inside breaking, right? So we know that this DB is outside shade because of his stance and where he's lined up, right? So if he's shaded to the outside, we know that he is outside leverage. Now, I think this release is called a wide step release, is one of the best releases you could use against outside shade press because he's outside shade. You see the middle of his feet are kind of even with our back foot, and you could tell by where we're located on the numbers, right? We're like kind of shaded towards the top of the numbers. He's more so towards like the bottom back half of the numbers. So that's how we know he's outside shade. So when he's outside shade, he's there for one of two reasons. He's there to protect the outside, to not let us go outside. So he wants to prevent the out routes, the corner routes, the comeback routes, and he has safety help to the inside. So he has some kind of help. He's completely fine with you just taking off and running a dig route. So that's why this wide step works so well, because it allows you to set up an outside route or an inside route if you get skinny off of the release like we should. So what this receiver does is the wide step is where you step with your back foot wide outside of this DB's frame, trying to get him to jump to the outside, trying to threaten him with that vertical move, trying to threaten him with that wide step to get him to jump so I could take the inside release or maybe just restack into the route. So when this wide receiver takes this wide step, you see how it's stepping outside of the DB's frame. His hips and his shoulders are stepping to the outside. Everything about this specific one step looks like he's running to the outside. And that is how we get that DB to hold the leverage. That DB, you got to understand, fellas, that a talented DB is not going to give up the outside. He's not going to let you just run past him. So when you guys do a move like this, if you don't sell it enough, if you just give a little head and shoulder fake, if you're just kind of stepping quickly, you're not actually stepping outside of his frame to sell, he will not move. The only time we get him to move is if I'm actually threatening him to where he doesn't want me to go. And that is the name of the game when it's press coverage. You always want to threaten where that DB doesn't want you to go, and you need to be comfortable taking an inside release sometimes on an outside route or an inside release on an inside route, whichever. You should be able to run any route on the route tree with an inside or an outside release. So after he does this wide step, right, the wide step threatens that outside leverage in one single step. When you come off of this wide step, is where a lot of people go wrong. This is why DBs play outside leverage in the first place, because they think receivers will just try to run away from them to the inside, right? And so if this DB's outside shade and you try to run away from him, he's going to get hands onto your hips and force you to the inside towards that safety help that he has, towards a linebacker dropping into coverage, whatever it might be. So we have to make sure that off of this wide step, what do I need to do? I need to get skinny. You see how this wide receiver gets back into this DB? That is the beauty of the wide step. It allows us to do that. So when I have this inside breaking route, I just don't take off and run. That's what a lot of people will do. A lot of people will line up. They'll see this outside shade look. They know they have to run a dig, a post, whatever it is, and they just take off and run. That DB will get hands and force you all the way to his help. So that wide step is a great way to attack outside shade press, threaten him to where he doesn't want to go to widen him, and then that allows me to get skinny, be able to stay on that like straight line, if you will, on the route. And then when I break this thing off, I have a bigger window between the corner and between his safety help to the inside. So that first release that every wide receiver should know is called a wide step release. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver setting him up with the wide step, getting back skinny, and being able to create space on this route. Okay, so now next release here is going to be called a diamond release. So what is a diamond release? When do you want to use a diamond release? So everybody's probably seen like a diamond drawn before. This is going to be like a rough kind of drawing of a diamond. But like, think of it like that as you would draw a diamond on a paper. That first like line that you make. It's at a 45-degree angle to the outside. That is pretty much what a diamond release is, right? So you're going to be attacking this DB's outside shoulder for 3 hard steps to get his hips to flip to the fade, and I can slip back underneath. Now, we would only use this on a slant route, and I'm going to explain why. So let's play this thing full speed. This is from George Kittle. Now, this is a great release for you bigger guys to use because you can use your size to your advantage and be a little bit more physical with this type of release. So again, we talked about this in the last clip. On press releases, fellas, a lot of people ask us, hey, when do I choose this press release? When should I use it? What specific route should I use this release on? Again, most of the time, it has to do with the DB's leverage. How is he playing you, and how can we get separation against the way he is playing you? That's the name of the game. It is not about this route is perfect for this release. On a slant route, fellas, there are a million releases you can use. My favorite, though, when you have a DB who's maybe shaded a little bit to the inside or head up, is this diamond release. So when you go to the outside here for 3 steps, like we said, you see how when Kittle goes, his hips and his shoulders are fully committed on that 45. So many guys will do this diamond release, and before they plant, before they make this 3rd step, their shoulder and their hip starts to turn back to the inside. They'll take off for a good first step, and then they start to turn because they're anxious to get out of this break. But when it's man coverage, that DB is watching your hips. You have to make sure that we commit hips and shoulders. We are actually running hard because that's what can get him to open up his hips, open up the gate, and then I could use that inside arm to throw him by. So many wide receivers will try to do this, and they're not physical. They don't use that inside arm to swat by. They'll just try to cut. They try to maybe lean back and avoid. You have to think of it as you're going right, left, right, and as soon as you plant off of that right foot, that left hand is swatting that DB on his back so I could get some more separation and use my size, use my physicality to my advantage. Now, I briefly mentioned this before we started breaking down that release, is this DB shaded a little bit to the inside. So the whole reason for this release, the whole reason why we don't just try to attack him and then take off to the inside is because when he's inside leverage, when he's trying to take away the inside, that's essentially what I'm saying. He's inside leverage for a reason, to force you outside. So if we can make him think that I'm going to the outside and I'm running and I'm trying to go just around him and run a fade, more than likely, if I sell the route correctly, he's going to open up his hips and he's going to go run with me. That is the number one key on this diamond release. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Kittle working that diamond and being able to slip back underneath. The reason why we would only use this on a slant, fellas, is because if you guys tried to use that on a post route and you fully commit your hips for 3 steps and you got to slip back inside, then you got to go up to the depth of the post, it just takes too damn long. You have to make sure we keep timing. That is the number one thing when it comes to press release. A DB's whole goal in press is to disrupt timing and to get hands on you so he disrupts the timing with your QB. If you guys can avoid that and keep timing and move efficiently with the releases you choose, you will be able to get a lot of separation. All right. So now, next release I want to talk about here. So we went over the wide step. We went over the diamond release. Now we're going to go over something I like to call a reaction release. Okay, so pretty much playing the wide receiver position, a lot of the times we talk about having a plan, right? So this DB's lined up inside shade. We got to have a plan for it. You want to attack his leverage, whatever it might be. DB's lined up outside shade. You got to have a plan for it. Now, what if he's lined up head up? That is when I like to bring into the reaction. I like to bring in the reaction element of playing the wide receiver position in. And that is where you kind of gather info. You hear a lot of receivers talk about that. I attack him and I'm gathering info on him. How is he going to play this thing? That's essentially when you want to use this. So let's play this full speed. So this is Kyle Phillips. This is a dig route that he ends up running. And he uses this crossover release. Now, not a ton of separation, but he got open. And honest to God, fellas, at a certain level, this is pretty open. There's a lot of levels where this DB is extremely talented, but that is open for a quarterback. That's open. I got to complete that throw. So how do we get to this point? So when we come out of DB and he's in head up, we don't necessarily know what kind of leverage he's going to keep. He might shade to the outside. He might shade to the inside. And this is the same thing I was talking about in that very first clip with that wide step. You have to be comfortable taking an inside release or an outside release on any given route, especially a route like a dig. So I go at him. He's head up, and I got a little bit of cushion. I got 2 yards worth of cushion. I got to make sure I step on his toes. I want to close the distance with him. I want to make him extremely uncomfortable. So when I close the distance with this guy, I'm gathering info. How is he going to play it? Is he going to shade to the outside? Is he going to shade to the inside? And how am I going to react? So you'd see in this specific example, Phillips, he comes off the ball. He's attacking this DB. He starts shading to the outside. So what does that tell you if you have to run a dig? You're obviously not going to be able to take the outside release. You wouldn't want to anyways. So you're going to throw this little crossover move, get him to keep that leverage to the outside because we're threatening him where he doesn't want to go. And then I'm able to break this thing off and get to the depth. That's easy money. Now, what if this DB shaded to the inside? You would do the exact same thing. You would still react the same way. You'd hit him with the crossover, but instead of the inside release, you'd take an outside release. Now, this is the thing, fellas. Press releases, moves that you do off the line, that is just to keep timing and to allow you to keep spacing on your route. The top of the route is where you get separation. So you see when he goes here, he attacks this DB. If he were to shade to the inside, instead of going right, left on the crossover, he would go left and then jab with the right foot inside and take the outside release. So now if we go there and we take the outside release on a dig, what do you think we'd probably have to do with that DB? We'd have to sell vertical, but that DB would probably be hip to hip with me, and I'd have to throw him by with my right hand and be able to slip under him to go win on that route. You just have to have a plan at the top of the route. That's why it's so important, fellas. You should be working situations where, okay, I'm running this corner route. I'm working on taking an inside release. I'm working on taking an outside release. You have to know these situations and know how to react because sometimes that DB might take away what we want to do, and I don't want to be completely screwed. So many receivers come up to the line with a premeditated plan like, oh, I have to do this. If I don't do it, it's not going to work. We have to react. At the end of the day, you got to be prepared. You got to have a plan, but at a certain point, you have to get comfortable reacting off of this DB. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Phillips closing space, hitting that crossover, and then bursting back upfield. So the 3 releases, fellas, we got to learn. Wide step, diamond, and that reaction release. And I think those are 3 really good starting points for guys who are maybe new to the wide receiver position or new to this press release game. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like a 4-week wide receiver on-field workout schedule, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.